Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Image Bearers Podcast. I am Lacey Connor. I hope you all are having a blessed day. Today, we have a fantastic guest, a wife of a previous guest. Hello, Kathy.
Hello, Lacey. How are you?
Good. You are the wife of Gary.
Yes.
I forgot what episode it is, but y'all can look it up. Gary Stump.
It's on forgiveness.
Yes, it's on
amazing.
forgiveness. I know, right? It is. Everyone, so many people have that I've not met before have reached out and been like, this is, thank you so much for this, story. It came at a perfect time. And he blew up on TikTok. People loved just the snippets. I mean, I got people with, I forgave the man who killed my wife. And I was like, first I was debating back and forth, but I feel like it does catch people's attention, but it is also something that draws people in. They're like, what? That is a very intense thing to forgive.
And obviously, everyone has seen that when they watched the memorial and saw Erica Kerr forgive the man who killed her husband.
Right, and that one helped a whole bunch of,
Yes.
but I had people pretty much respond to the same way with just Gary's, local people and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was cool, yes.
That is cool.
So I can't wait to get into your story.
Okay.
All right. Kathy, tell us a little, I already said that you're the wife of Gary, but tell us a little more about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised till I was in 7th grade in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I'm a cheesehead and a Packer fan, although I love the Colts, but yeah, go Pack. And I loved them even when they had the Pack sack, which they were so bad, they'd put a sack on their face when they'd go to the paper sack, when they'd go to the games. I mean, that's bad. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know this was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was, yes. But I loved them even then. It's kind of like a Cub fan. You love them through the good and the bad.
Right.
So anyway, we moved. We moved to Indiana when I was in 7th grade, and I was very shy, very much an introvert. And my favorite thing was reading. It still is reading. And so I had just started coming out of my shell and had to make new friends all over again. And I remember walking down the hall of my 7th grade hall. It was a smaller school, and it was up in Kokomo, and it was 7 through 12. So all these kids had been together since elementary. So it's in March. So it's toward the end of the year. And I just remember walking down the hall, and I knew every broken tile on the floor because I kept my eyes down all the time. I'm just so nervous and just so introverted and really struggled making friends. But I did make a friend. She invited me to a concert, and I was raised in a church, but it's Catholic church. They talked about God and Jesus, but not in a way that you could about salvation.
Yeah.
It wasn't talked about like that. So anyway, I went to a concert with her, and it was a Christian concert. They started talking about the Lord about Jesus in a way that I'd never heard, and being alone and feeling lonely, and there were other issues in my family, and it just really spoke to me. So I came, they had an altar call, actually. I came forward and accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I knew from then I'd never be alone again, not totally alone.
Yeah.
But being a Catholic, I still had to go to church with my family. So growing in my faith was difficult. But I still always had that there. So I went to college. I left college. I met this girl. She invited me to her church. And I knew when I was driving to the church that I was going to surrender everything to the Lord.
Really?
It was just a feeling that I had. Yeah. So
were you nervous? Was it nervous feeling? Or
a
were you
little
just
bit, a little bit.
Or were you pumped a little bit too?
I was both. But it's just I knew I was ready. So it was actually Northview, old Northview with Tommy Pano back in the day before the first building they ever had. Anyway, so he spoke about Abraham and Isaac. Sacrificing Isaac, and that God sacrificed his son for us, and it just clicked. So anyway, I really became involved in church, and I was 23 at the time.
Yeah.
And what's important about this story is I wasn't concerned. I was concerned about growing in the Lord. I did want to get married and have kids eventually. I mean, that was something I wanted to. But I was raised in a home with an alcoholic and a bipolar mother, and so I wanted to do marriage right or not at all.
Right.
I went to a seminar, and this lady said something that just struck me. She said, "I'd rather want what I don't have than have what I don't want." And that definitely comes to marriage.
Yeah.
I'd rather want to be married than be married and not want to be married.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It's like, so anyway, so that was really that really stuck with me. So I just got involved in church. I worked in the nursery. I worked with youth. In fact, I was a youth worker when I met Gary. So I worked with mostly junior high kids. And
Uh-huh.
so I was able, I was talking to him about everything. We talked about, apologetics. We talked
Uh-huh.
about creation. We talked about sex. We talked about all kinds of stuff. So as a youth worker, I was prepared for that. But also as a single woman, I knew we had a singles group, but it was a lot of them were divorced people, and they were kind of looking for someone,
Mhm.
and if they didn't find anybody, they'd move to another church. And I was not going to do that. That
Yeah.
wasn't my thing, and I'd go to some singles groups or some singles seminars, and they were almost, I mean, I don't want to characterize all of them like that, but they
Right.
felt a little bit meat markety. You know
Right.
what I'm
I mean,
saying?
that's what I've heard back
Yes.
then with I think that's why there's not many singles groups anymore, because I think
Yeah.
it legit started to turn into that. And it was like, this
Yes.
isn't really honoring the Lord. This is you just trying to find a man or a woman.
And, they all spent this time about God's will. What's God's will for my life? Who's God's will? Doing what is God's will? And there was a verse that I found. It's in 1 Thessalonians 5,
Mhm.
16 through 18. It says, "Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." That was God's will. Not a person, not a job, not a thing. That's God's will for you. And I really started focusing on that as God's will for my life, and it really made a difference.
Right.
So I I heard my best friend was close with Gary's sister,
Mhm.
so I heard about the accident.
Yeah.
I heard about Gary, this man whose wife died. In fact, and it was in the newspapers as well. I remember reading a story about it when they had found the car being cut up. It was in the
Oh, it was
newspaper.
in the newspaper and everything?
Yeah, it was
Ah,
on the
okay.
front page. Yeah, yeah. So it was a story, and so I remember reading the story. I didn't go. My friend went to the funeral to
Mhm.
support Gary's sister, Roseanne. I didn't do that, but I knew about it.
Mhm.
I was 29 years old, and I had been dating someone, but it wasn't working, and it just wasn't a big deal. So anyway, I really, I mean, I prayed for him
Yeah.
and prayed for the family, but nothing specifically in that regard. So in September, so the accident happened in June, and in September, my friend told me that Gary's sister Roseanne said that she really felt that when Gary's ready to date, that she wanted to introduce us.
What were your
That
thoughts there?
Well, it's like, well, that's interesting. And so I thought, okay, that's that's okay, whatever. We'll see what happens. I
Mhm.
knew he had 4 kids, and my best friend, who was a friend with Roseanne, she had 4 kids.
Uh-huh.
And when she and her husband would go out of town, I would watch her kids.
Oh,
I
wow.
would,
All
yeah.
4 of them.
All 4 of them,
Whew.
and they're a little bit older than the kids, than my kids were.
Yeah.
So just, they're about a year or 2 older, but yeah, she'd leave town she and her husband go on a trip for a week, and I'd stay at the house, and I'd get them on the bus, and I'd just take care of them.
Yeah.
So, I had that experience, and I had done nanny work, before when I was single, so I had some experience with kids in that regard. And, because I'd worked in the nursery at church and then with youth group and stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that was in September. And I thought about it. I thought that's really good, and just kind of promptly forgot about it, really.
Yeah.
And then in March, our church was doing an Easter cantata. So it's kind of a play with music. So,
Okay.
they don't, I'm not sure if churches do cantatas much
No,
anymore.
I've not heard. I mean, like,
you probably not.
Gary brought it up with his in his episode, but I was like, since then, I've not heard of it, and before then, I had not heard of it.
Yes. So that's what they call it. So it'd be
Okay.
like the choir singing, and there are a few people acting out.
Okay.
So it was Easter. So
Okay.
I mean, we had animals and everything.
You guys
so we
committed.
were. That was a big deal, and we were doing, the Easter story. And so I was Mary Magdalene.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So, I had they did the big deal, thick makeup and, all of that stuff, the whole shebang. And so my job was to go up and see that the tomb is empty and talk to the disciples. And I didn't really say anything. I just, pantomimed while the choir was singing. Anyway. Long story short.
It sounds cool. I wish they didn't bring it back.
Yeah.
I would definitely sit for something like that.
Yeah, it was really cool. But there are churches that don't even have choirs anymore.
Right.
I know. So
I miss that.
Yes.
Our church doesn't. But I mean, occasionally they'll do it for like special occasions.
Right.
But like a good choir will hit. It'll be real nice.
Yes, it is. It's really good.
It is.
Yes. So anyway, we did that, and so Roseanne contacted my friend and said, I think it's, he wants to meet you. It's like, okay. So I had already had it. So there were several performances. And one of the earlier performances, I had a date with a guy that I knew from high school that was a Christian. And he was a nice guy. He was also a relative of the youth pastor in the church.
Okay.
But he... as a Christian, he was born again, he was saved, but he wasn't like really seeking a deeper walk with God. There's just something different, and that's what I wanted. I had two things. I had two things that I wanted when I was looking for a man. When you're young, you've got a long list, and then as you get older, the list gets shorter. And there was a comic in the newspaper. I'm really dating myself, called Kathy. And she kept talking about her list, and it kept getting smaller. So by the time I was, 28, 29, I had two things: seeking the Lord with all their heart and a sense of humor.
Okay.
So I'd go out with guys, and I only went out with Christians. So I'd go out with guys that were Christians, but they weren't really seeking to really deepen their walk with the Lord. They weren't seeking after God in a way that I desired in a husband. But they had a good sense of humor. They were fun to be with. Or I'd find guys that were like that, but they were boring.
That is, I've heard that is a hard thing. Dating, trying to find a Christian man.
Yes. You want to find it, but you want to find someone that, likes to have fun too.
Right?
But
because you're going to be with them the rest of your life.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So that was my list. It was down to two. So anyway, so this guy I'd gone out with before, he was a Christian. He loved to have fun, but what he wasn't really seeking.
Yeah.
And so I knew that Gary was desiring to go into ministry.
Right.
When I was going out with him. So it wasn't a surprise.
Right.
So he came to the cantata a different night.
Thank the Lord.
Yes.
We would have had a dilemma there.
Problem, yes.
Right.
He came to the cantata a different night. We went out to have ice cream afterward with a group of people. And I remember, I talked to him a little bit. I remember going up. He was kind of preppy dressed. He was cute, and he had on loafers and just kind of really preppy.
Dresses that
he
way.
does. He still dresses preppy. I like I like preppy.
You do? Okay.
Yes. So I liked the preppy look. So anyway, I thought, oh, that's cute. And I remember him leaning over and getting a drink out of the water fountain. It's like, he looks cute. He's a man. I'm thinking,
right?
like when you're young, you think about dating someone. It's like you're dating another guy your age. But it's like, this is a man. He has children. He's walked the valley of the shadow of death.
Right.
It's just like it's a different, it's different the way I thought of it. So anyway, we went out. And so we went to Swenson's. I don't know if you remember that. No, it was at Glendale Mall. They don't even have Glendale Mall. I'm telling you,
just
I'm
like
dating
a
myself.
now.
I'm
Yes.
dating myself.
They have a great Target, though, in Glendale.
Yes, they do. Yes, 1989.
Okay.
So anyway, in March of 1989, and they brought ice cream around, and they usually put everyone got a little wafer-like cookie on their ice cream. Well, I got my ice cream, and I didn't get a cookie. And it's no big deal. And I said, oh, I didn't get a cookie. I'm talking, and Gary took his cookie and put it on my ice cream. And he doesn't even remember that, but I do. I thought, wow, that is really cool. I mean, I just commented. I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
It's not like I had to have the cookie, but I just commented that I didn't get one, and he took his, and it's like, okay. So we'd actually ridden together with his sister and brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
So we went back to the church and took me to my car, and he said, I'd like to call you. Can I call you for a date? And I said, sure. And he said, what's your number? And, those are landlines back then, obviously. So I said, well, do you have a piece of paper? He goes, no, I'll remember it. And I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty good. And so we didn't give area codes. I just gave him, I don't remember my number anymore, seven-digit number.
We didn't have to do area codes back then, did
only if you did out of town.
Yeah, because I remember growing up, I never had to.
Yeah, it was just 7 numbers, yeah. So anyway, I gave him the number, and he remembered it.
Wow.
And I thought, that I was impressed.
Right?
It doesn't take much to impress me.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, it's the little things.
It is the little things. Those little things, it's like, wow. So anyway, he called me that week, and we set up a date. And we went out on Friday. And I remember I was very nervous. It's like, what am I going to say? How is this going to go? And I was really nervous. And so we went out. We went to, I love steak. I'm a big meat eater. I know. I'm a big meat eater. So anyway, we went to Steak and Ale.
Okay.
At Keystone, so not too far from here.
Yeah.
They had a great salad bar and a good steak. And we went in, and, he talks about taking me there because they took reservations because he wasn't sure if he'd have anything to talk about. And so we chatted on the way, but not a ton. We chatted on the way to the restaurant. So we got to the restaurant, we started talking, and he asked me who my favorite teachers were, who I listened to, on the radio.
Yeah.
Because that's really where you heard it. Now there's
I know,
there's
now
so many ways. Yes. And I mentioned John MacArthur.
Uh-huh.
And I was going to a church that had some charismatic leanings, and he's like, John MacArthur, he's like pretty solid. Although my pastor was very solid too, but it was really interesting. And, listened to James Dobson. I listened to most of the people I listened to were just pretty solid.
Yeah.
And so we just started talking about those things. He says that I did a bait and switch on him. So I went to IU.
Okay.
And I was in business. I worked in business downtown for Marcia McLennan. And I knew through business that if you're a woman, one of the things to do is to find a team and to follow that team. You don't need to know all about all the sports. You don't need to know all about everything, but just find a team and follow it so you can speak about that team.
Right, yeah.
So because I went to IU, I followed IU football, which back at the time was cruddy, which they're undefeated. Awesome. And, oh yeah, it's great. And I followed IU basketball. Mm-hmm. So I talked basketball with him because it's March. It was March Madness or whatever. They may have won that year. I'm not sure. In 88, 89, I think they won. Anyway, so I talked basketball to him. So I thought, oh, this girl loves sports. He didn't realize later, it's like, I'm not interested in sports.
Right? You're like, I just know one team.
I know one team.
I was good with that.
And I knew about it. And so when I was in meetings with men, I would talk about IU. I'd talk about the sports. I knew the players. I knew all of that stuff. And so he teases me. That was my bait and switch on him. Yeah. He thought he not only had someone that was deep in the Lord, but knew sports. And it's like, oops.
Right? You're like, well, thank the Lord it wasn't that.
Yeah. Now that we're married, I don't have to know sports anymore.
Yeah, right. And I'm not in business anymore. So
that's right.
I got other priorities.
So anyway, we just talked and we clicked so much. I remember going home and he kissed me at the door, and I was so surprised.
Oh,
I was. It was so crazy.
That.
I know.
Yes.
It was like, oh. And so when he kissed me, I patted his back, and he's thinking, oh, brother, she doesn't think much of this. And I remember, getting ready for bed, laying in bed, and I did not sleep all night. There was something in my being that told me, I think this might be the man I'm going to marry. After that first date, I wasn't even thinking about the kids.
Yeah.
There was just, we clicked at such a deep level. I just couldn't sleep that night. It was crazy. That's all I could think about. It's like, Lord, what are you doing here? And again, I didn't even think about, that he was going to be a pastor. I didn't think about I wasn't even really considering the kids in that. It was more, this is it.
Yeah.
And so honestly, so we had that date. He sent me flowers. And then
He's
I
so
was,
old school.
yes, he was, yes.
Aw.
And so I sent him a thank you note. And I left for a week for a mission trip with the youth. We went to Mississippi and did some Habitat for Humanity with our youth group.
Yeah.
So I was gone the first week. So we had a date, the end of March, like March 30th, I think.
Yeah.
And then, no, March 31st. I can't, one of those dates. I should look it up. Anyway, because my son Graham, his birthday is, I think, the 30th. So that's why I get confused. So, but it wasn't on his birthday, so I think it was the 31st. Anyway, so we went, had that mission trip. And, you didn't have phones, so there's no communication.
Yeah.
I mean, like no texting or anything. And, there's no communication during that time, but I just kept thinking about him and thinking about him and thinking about it and thinking about this other guy. And it's like, there's no comparison. And the other guy's young and he's in business and he's fun and stuff like that. And, but that's not what I was looking for.
Right.
On paper, he would look like the better candidate on paper. But that's not what I was looking for.
Because those are temporary things. I mean, they're fun right now, but then that's not what you marry. I mean, like, you can marry it if they love the Lord too, but yes.
Yeah, and he did love the Lord. But anyway, so I just remember thinking about that. So I came back, and so we went out on a Friday. We missed the whole next weekend, and I came back, and he called me on the phone, and we would talk for hours on the phone. Then we had our second date, and we went to this place called Sharky's, and it's where the Charleston's is at 82nd Street.
Okay, yeah.
So
I know exactly
it was a place called Sharky's, and we went to dinner, and he brought some pictures. He had pictures of the kids. And it was I was nervous because I'm thinking, are we going to have that connection again? Was that just a one-time connection?
Yeah.
And he was nervous too. And so it was slow getting to talk. And then we started talking, and, he's showing me pictures, and then we started talking. And then we started talking about his life. He started talking about, this, just all kinds of stuff. And we just drove around town, and we ended up at Bob Evans and had coffee, and we were there, and we just talked and talked and talked again. So we connected again. So I've got this other guy's calling me and having lunch with me. He, because I'm downtown, we would have lunch downtown. So we'd only been out really on that, I think, one evening date, maybe another evening date, but it's mostly lunches.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, it's like, I really want to see where this goes with Gary.
Okay.
And so I need to say something to this guy, which is kind of weird. So he called me for a lunch date. And I said, and I told him, I said, look, I'm seeing this other guy. He's a widower with kids. And I feel like he would not feel comfortable for me to be dating other people.
Yeah.
Even though there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's one of the reasons we have so much trouble today, is because people can't date. People get too emotionally involved too quickly.
Yeah.
And they don't date around enough, and so it's just, I think dating around is fine. If you're just doing kisses at the door, it's great. It's because then you know what you want.
Yeah.
That's what dating is trying to figure out, what you want. Anyway, so the guy was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'll call you in a few weeks, whatever." So I actually looked it up. 32 days later, Gary asked me to marry him.
Oh,
May
gosh.
1st. So our first date was like March 31st, and then we
Uh-huh.
kind of missed a weekend in there, and he asked me to marry him May 1st. And, like, he asked me to marry him. He goes, "I just can't wait." He was taking me out to dinner.
Uh-huh.
This was a Monday night. He was taking me out to dinner on Saturday. He had a nice dinner planned.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I didn't know what to, and it's like, I'll pray about it. I mean, we had just, I said, he goes, "Well, what do you mean you'll pray about it?" "I've been praying about this." And I said, "Well, I've been praying about, saying I love you, not am I going to marry you?" I mean,
Right.
so we just started talking, and he convinced me by the end of the night.
What a
He
good
said,
convince.
yes, it was a good convince. It's like, and what happened was he didn't convince me. It
Uh-huh.
was kind of like, this is what's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. We might as well just go from here.
Uh-huh.
And that's really what, so it was like, oh, so we should just date a few more times and then I'll say yes. It's like, what difference does it make?
Mhm.
I mean, that's really what I felt.
Yeah.
And that was the convincing part. It's like, this was inevitable. I really, really felt the Lord was bringing us together. So it's like, okay. So people were very surprised. And I
Right.
had met the kids already.
But not like a
Well,
lot?
I mean, I was at his house, so
Yeah.
I had actually been there. He made
Okay.
dinner that night, that Monday, and put the kids to bed, and after the kids were in bed, we talked. But, so I met the kids, and I remember, Rick was getting baptized,
Oh.
and his, grandpa was baptizing him. Gary's dad was gonna baptize him, and so I went to it was an evening service on Sunday evening, so I went to his church to see that happen, and, oh, I was so nervous. I mean, I was just nervous and just, like, sick to my, because this was a big deal, and this was before we were engaged, obviously, but so we go to the service, and, I meet the kids, and Graham comes up to me, and they all had freckles. He had these
Right.
freckles, and he comes right up and stands toe to toe, and he looks up and he goes, "I know who you are. You're Kathy." And just as cute as he could be, blue eyes, and his ears stuck out a little bit. He had a
Oh.
little buzz cut, so it
Uh-huh.
was adorable. They were all just beautiful,
Uh-huh.
and they all looked different. We had a dark-haired, a blonde, a redhead, and
That's so
another,
true.
yes,
They
and
all
another brown-haired. So
they all have beautiful
yes,
eyes too.
yes, oh yeah, they get that from their mom's side,
Oh,
their
is that
grandma
it?
and stuff.
'Cause
Yes,
I was like, I mean, Gary
yes,
he has good eyes, but I was
yes,
like,
he
there's not, but
does.
like Abby's and like all of the like all of them have beautiful eyes. Okay, so that's on like Donna's side.
It's on Donna's side, and
Okay.
Donna's mom is like, she's 87, and her eyes are gorgeous.
That's
Yes. So, and her mom was named Violet, and her eyes were violet.
no.
Yes,
Oh
I'm
my
not
God, that
kidding.
is
It was amazing.
beautiful.
Yes, it was really beautiful. So anyway,
Sorry.
so I met the kids, and and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, Abby kind of nudges me, and she gives me something, and I'm looking at it, and she says, "Give this to Dad." And I pass it over. It's the remote control for the TV. They fought over the remote control all the time, and Abby, as the oldest, always had it. So she had it to watch TV
Uh-huh.
and had stuck it in her pocket and brought it to church. So she figured if she gave it to me and I gave it to Gary, she wouldn't get in trouble. So we went to Pizza Hut afterwards, and we're sitting around talking. Order pizza. Everything's going fine. I'm going to tell on Sarah. Then Sarah says, they're talking about watching DuckTales or something. And
Uh-huh.
Sarah goes, they're starting to cuss on DuckTales, Dad. It's like, no, they're not. Not on a
Right.
cartoon. I mean, this is 89.
Yeah.
No.
No.
And I don't know I'm not sure what was said, but she said, no, they're really starting to cuss. It's like, well, what did they say? And she said, well, I can't tell you. And goes, Sarah, because
Right.
we're thinking,
I asked you.
yeah, we're thinking DAM or something
Yeah,
like
right.
that. I mean, that's what we're thinking. But it's like, I'm just shocked. She blurts out SHIT. And the waitress was there. And she's a little girl, she's like 10.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at her, the waitress, we're all looking at her, and I burst out laughing because I knew there was no way they said that on DuckTales.
Right? Because I
There's no
watched
way.
DuckTales. It is
No,
not. No.
no. And if they did say a word, it'd be something else.
Yeah.
But Oh, we laughed. I laughed till I cried. And I think that not only broke the ice, but it's like, oh, she has a sense of humor. She was not
Right.
offended by that. I mean,
Yeah.
that didn't offend me. I just thought that was hysterical because obviously that wasn't, she just, whatever. So it was just so funny. So that was our first meeting.
Uh-huh. Oh, it was.
That
With
was the first
kids
time I
and all.
met him. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So anyway, so fast forward to um the kids that summer, we're engaged, we're getting ready to get married. The kids that summer had said something. They had kind of had a meeting and decided they wanted to call me mom. We hadn't even thought about
before you guys were married?
before. Yes, and we didn't let them do it before we were married.
Okay.
But before we were married, they had decided that. So we didn't say we
Really?
want you to call me that. That
Yeah.
was not. that wasn't even. They called me Kathy.
Yeah.
All the time. So I was Kathy to them.
Because
So
it's an interesting, difficult kind of
Right.
conversation to like.
right,
just
yeah,
the whole
we hadn't
situation,
even
yeah.
had that conversation with them about what
Ah.
what they would call me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was really cool. I mean, I wasn't expecting that really.
Mhm.
It hadn't even really occurred to me
Right.
about that. Anyway, so we get married, we go on our honeymoon. We were gone for 7 days on our own. We went to Siesta Key.
Uh-huh.
We go back there a lot because we love it there, and it was really beautiful. Then the kids flew down to meet us at Disney World. And I mean, I had no I mean, I was all for it. When he asked me to marry, when we went out and actually told the kids that we were getting married, we took them out to dinner and told them that we were engaged. And we said something about a honeymoon, and I said, yeah, I think we should go to Disney World. And so, and Gary was selling typewriters at the time. Again, I keep dating us.
Typewriters.
Typewriters,
Okay.
yes. And he sold them to Eli Lilly.
Oh, okay.
So he had big accounts. And so for his bonuses, he would get money on a MasterCard.
Uh-huh.
And he'd been getting bonuses for a while and never spent it. I mean, he just wasn't going anywhere. So we used that for the flights. We used it for everything. That was the money we used for our to fly for a honeymoon, to kids fly down, to pay for Disney World. There was
Yeah.
a lot of money on it. So that was really cool. Plus, it wasn't as expensive, obviously, as it
Yeah,
is
now
now.
it is. Whew.
So we left, and we were in Siesta Key, so we had to drive to Orlando.
Yeah.
And again, back at the time, there's no phone. So we drive to Orlando, we're going to pick up the kids. And we're at the plane where they deplane because there's no 9/11 yet. So you
Yeah.
can go right up to where they get off the plane. We're waiting for them, and they close the doors. Everyone's deplaned, and they close the doors. And we're thinking, we asked the people, is there anyone left on the plane? They said no. Well, we had to leave Siesta. We had to leave the Tampa area, Siesta
Yeah.
Key, whatever, and probably before they got on the plane. So if they missed the plane, there was no way to get a hold of us and tell us
Oh,
that.
that's true.
So we're waiting, and what they had done is they the four of them had flown alone. So they took them up to the cockpit, and they visited with the pilot, and then they came off.
Yeah.
So they were there.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
so
good.
it was
I
good.
was like,
yes,
oh gosh.
no, it turned
The
out fine. It
dilemmas
was, yes,
before phones.
Yes, I know.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
think
Right?
about that.
I
All of
know.
those things that you just don't have to worry about today.
Right? We forget too because I grew up without I mean, I guess cell phones were just starting and stuff. Like people had like phones in their car. Remember, like, the
Right,
old
yes.
school.
Yes.
But yeah, no, and it's crazy. Now it's like how much we rely on them and stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah. Yeah.
But there
Yeah.
was a time before, and we still got places, and people still,
It's
right?
Yes, we did. We lived. Yes, we
We
lived.
did. We were a little more responsible, I guess. When we said we were going to be somewhere, you had to be there.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you memorized phone numbers.
Right? I know. Now I just probably 3 years ago remembered Zach's phone number, and we've been married for 9 years now.
So I substitute teach a lot at schools, and
Uh-huh.
I'll be in with third graders. They don't know their address or phone number
Oh, really?
because they know what number to push to call mom. It's like, but if you don't have a phone, you have to know your
Right.
mom's number, and you need to know
Or at
your
least your address or something.
They don't. And so I remember telling teachers, you've got to teach this. You've got to.
Right.
Kids used to have to know it when they were in preschool, much less kindergarten. That was
Right.
one of the things you taught them, were the parents' phone numbers and their home address.
Right?
Many of them didn't know it.
Maybe their kids aren't as crazy as mine. Because my kids, Vancouver knows his address and phone number, but that's because they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people find them all the time. And I lose them all the time. They're in Lord. I always say they're in the Lord's hands. I'm trying my best. I'm trying.
Yes, I've had some grandkids that are runners too. So
Right?
yes, I
Yes. But I was the
understand.
same way. I used to always like hide places, and then like I was always even at the Castle Mall. Some of the security guards like knew me by name because I would be lost all the time, and I would just go security because I know that's where to go. And then I'd be like, "Let me have can I have a phone so I could call my mom?" But yeah. So they get it from me. I'm a curious George that loves to just hide and go all over the place. So it's my fault, but
That's funny. Yeah. So anyway, so we were at Disney World, and it was really good. And they started calling me mom there, and it's Graham, like right when the wedding was over, even before we went to the reception. I can call you mommy now. He was 6.
oh,
So when we got married, they were 6, 8, 10, and 12.
okay,
But we got married in August, and in September, Abby turned 13. And in October, Sarah turned 11. So, and she wanted to do everything Abby did. So she was a preteen, like almost a teenager. So that was kind of crazy.
yeah.
So anyway, the boys were still young and they wanted to do boy things, and they were pretty crazy. They were very rambunctious, and they were rambunctious before we got married. So it continued. All of the kids went to Heritage. Someone after Donna died graciously agreed to pay not just for them to attend Heritage for a year, but to put them through school.
Oh, wow.
So Gary was like, this was before me. Gary's like, look, I can't. I don't want to keep taking him out of school.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to do this. He goes, I have enough money. All I have to do is write a check. Let me send him to Heritage. We'll send him all the way through. You don't have to worry about it.
Oh.
And so it was such a blessing. And we lived right there. We were within blocks of the school. So we lived off New Road. I mean, we weren't far from Zach's family compound.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the family compound.
Yes, the family compound.
Right.
Yeah, and Sarah was friends with Jenny.
Yeah.
And Chris knew, they all knew Donna. All the family knew Donna, the Connor family.
Yeah.
Because they knew Gary. Gary was in CBMC with them, so they knew Donna, and they had done things with Gary and Donna, and Gary and Donna had been at things that they had done. So,
and that would have been so hard to take them out of school after their mom died and all that. Like,
well, they were actually in public school.
Oh, they were. Oh,
they weren't at. They started at the girls started at Heritage, but then they moved to Carmel. Gary had some job situations happening, so they were actually in public school. At the time, and they moved, and they were in the Carmel district, and then after the accident, they moved him to New Road across the street from his mom and dad, so they could help with the kids.
Yeah.
He was in a double, and that's where we ended up. And he was across the street from his mom and dad, and then his sister lived just down the road in Ivy Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and so they were going to go, they would have gone to Skiles Test or wherever.
Yeah.
And that was when they switched they were in the Carmel School District, they switched to Heritage.
Yeah. Perfect.
And Graham was a young kindergartner, but they had him go to Heritage because they had all-day kindergarten, and then Gary didn't have to worry about finding a babysitter because he had to work. So he was injured. He probably didn't go back to work till September or October.
Oh,
he was really injured. Yeah.
Yeah. He talked about how his pelvis and stuff
His pelvis was smashed. I mean, they weren't sure he would walk.
Right.
Yeah. And so they moved him out of the house that he and Donna were in, but he lived with his sister for the longest time. I mean, she's a saint. He lived in a hospital bed in her living room, and the kids, she had 2 little kids, and then Donna's 4.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness.
Right, 6 kids. And
Yes. Going from
and
2
a
little
brother
kids.
in a hospital bed.
Right. And her youngest was Graham's age. So, but she was close with the girls, and she was very close with Donna. She set Gary and Donna up on a blind date. So Gary's had 2 blind dates, and he's married them both.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yes. And after we got married, she said, I'm not setting you up on a dating. She said, this is it. I'm done.
She's like, the Lord has given me guidance only for these two.
Yeah,
I know, I'm
that's
done
it.
now.
2 blind dates, you married both of them, it's over.
Right? That's good. 2
So
times.
yes, twice, yes. So anyway, that's funny. But
Right. That's right. That's probably why he had so much faith when she was like, maybe you should try this one too. Because the first one worked out pretty well. So
yes,
maybe, right? He was like,
yes,
well, I guess
maybe
we'll try.
so, yeah.
Right.
Well, part of it was, I mean, she knew I was a single woman. I was
Mhm.
involved in church, and you know, even though he knew he was going into ministry, he was not going to be a businessman, and that was back before mega churches. So if you were going to be a pastor, you kind of took the vow of poverty.
Yeah.
Nobody was getting rich being a pastor back in the day, unless you were on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody
that's a
was.
whole nother
And yeah,
thing.
that's a different realm.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody even, you know, or wrote books. You know,
Yeah.
it just that wasn't anything that you were doing. So the point was, you know, but he had all these divorcees and all these women were kind of after him. So
Really?
yes,
I
it was
think
so
that's
funny.
a thing for like, especially like pastors and stuff. Because I mean, honestly, women do want a man who,
We'll listen, we'll have good counsel,
right?
and they were going to rescue the children
Right.
and all kinds of stuff. And so part of Roseanne's thinking was I'd be a good, safe first date because I'm not psycho like that.
Right? You were like a single woman. You were like, yep, nope,
Yeah, I didn't date a lot because, you know, I remember I went out with this guy once or twice.
Mhm.
And I thought, nah, I'm not. And one of the associate pastor's wives came up to me. She goes, what are you doing? He's a nice guy. I said, there's just something about him.
Right.
I'm just not sure. And so she goes, he's a great guy. And so they encouraged me to go out with them again. So we went out and I was living, oh my gosh, they don't even have it anymore. Up on Gray Road, they had a horse farm type thing there. There's neighborhoods.
I mean,
there
probably
now.
all
Yes.
horse farms are now neighborhoods.
Yeah, Smoky Row Road, right in that
Yes.
area. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. Anyway, so he dropped me off. And I'm living there's a house, and then the guy who used to live there was a veterinarian. So
Uh-huh.
he had there were 2 apartments and a barn. So I'm on the top. It was really fun. It was a horse barn. Anyway, I had no clue. I mean, he dropped me off. I said goodnight. I went to bed. I got up the next morning. He had fallen asleep in his car in the driveway. He
Why?
said, I don't know, but I was so angry. That was it. It's like, it looks like the people in the house, which I knew them and I talked to them, they went to our church. They thought you spent the night. Anybody would have thought that you spent the night at my house.
That's so
What in the world were you thinking? That was it. I was done with them.
Right.
Well, then later on, they figured out that, you know, he wasn't all he was cracked up to be. Other people thought. But that was the breaking point.
That's
with me.
always
It's
how
like,
it was back then.
Yeah. That was like, no way. I mean, he's a nice guy. He loved the Lord.
Yeah.
But he had issues.
Right.
And I saw the issues earlier.
Right. The Lord showed you them.
The Lord, yes,
right?
The Lord showed me the issues.
I have a question.
Earlier.
Since you were like single during like the 80s, 80s, a little bit, no, not 90s. You got married in the 80s.
89.
Yeah. Did you ever feel, because I felt like when I was growing up in the Christian era, like that, like to be a good Christian, you had to be married. Like, did people try to push you to get married sooner and stuff? Like, did you ever feel pressured?
My parents pressured me, but which is like I wasn't even living at home. When Gary asked them for the blessing for our wedding, my dad immediately takes his hand. You got it.
Right.
You know, like get her off my hands. And then my mom was the first thing she said. You know, she can't cook, and I didn't. I mean, I could, but I didn't, which was good because I had to learn to cook for 6. I didn't let myself feel that pressure. Again, being raised in a home my dad was a functioning alcoholic. His parents were alcoholics and they were bad. He remembers going and dragging him out of the bars. They divorced when he was 12. He just had a terrible upbringing. And my mom was just angry and bitter. And I found out later she probably had bipolar too. And there were just all those situations and they fought like, it was horrible. They fought constantly, screaming and just constant stuff. And there was verbal abuse and there was some physical abuse for us kids. And from my mom, not from my dad, because my dad was a real quiet drunk. He'd just fall asleep. but they would fight a lot. So I was so anxious about getting married that I didn't let that pressure get to me,
Right.
because I'm like, I am not going to get married and have something like that happen to me. And I saw a lot of other marriages like that. So I thought, I'd rather not be married. I'd rather be single
Yes.
than be in a bad marriage. And I was really adamant about it. And I thought, I'm not sure how I'm going to navigate that. So one of the things, as I was working, is I was trying to pay off. I thought I really wanted to be in ministry, and I thought I would be a missionary. So I was trying to pay down debt. I had some school debt. I had a car, different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to pay my debt down. And my goal was to, if I don't get married soon, I want to go in mission work.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I'd always loved kids. And so even in my 20s, early 20s, I thought, if I'm not married, I think I'm going to adopt kids. I don't have any problem with that,
Yeah.
And I remember right before I met Gary, like in February, we had the youth thing I was involved in. We did a thing called, it's called Discipleship Walk to Emmaus. It's all that kind of, the Great Banquet. It's all
Yeah.
based
Okay.
on that.
Yes.
So they had a youth one. I can't even remember where it was. And so a few of us went to the youth one, and I spoke on singleness.
Right.
And so I did a talk on singleness, and I talked about, first of all, I always thought by the time I was 30, if I wasn't married and had children, that I would adopt some kids. And much to my roommate's happiness, I'm turning 30 next month, and I'm not. That's not on my radar. And I also talked about, you don't need to go. I mean, there are people that will tell a single Christian to go to bars to meet people, and
Yeah.
so I talked about not switching churches, not going to bars. And there was a young man there whose wife had anorexia, and she died of a heart attack at 23. And so he was like 24 or 25.
Yeah.
And she'd been gone a few years. And so he was in the healing process, but he's thinking, how am I going to meet someone else? They didn't have any children. And, he said, your talk was for me. It wasn't for those kids, because it made me realize I need to be faithful in my walk to the Lord, faithful to my church, and God will do what he does.
Yeah.
So this was in February. I
Mhm.
turned 30 the beginning of March, and then met Gary at the end of March. And by the time I was 31, I was married with 4 children. So
The
you
Lord
never
too.
know.
Yeah, the Lord will give you. It just may not have been the way you thought.
Yes. So going back to your question, I personally didn't feel the pressure, but the pressure was out there.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of pressure out there, and I pushed it aside, because to me, it wasn't worth it. I was not going to be in a bad marriage, as far as I could help it.
Right.
Surely not to start that way.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, this is very unromantic, but the fact that Gary's wife was killed by a drunk driver and Gary's like done with alcohol, that was a big plus.
Right.
It's like he's probably not going to become an alcoholic.
Right. That's yeah. You never.
Yeah. That
'Cause that's
thought
something that
crossed
can
my
make
mind.
you real
Yeah.
nervous.
Yeah. It would have made me nervous.
Mhm.
My younger brother was an alcoholic. He died at like 45 of cirrhosis. Just terrible. And he was not a functioning alcoholic. He
Yeah.
really struggled. He went through all kinds of programs. And I think he got saved, but he was definitely enslaved to alcohol.
Right.
But I'm just like, no, I'm breaking the cycle in the family.
Right.
So anyway.
But now that you talked about your brother and stuff, it makes me like interested, because I'm assuming your brother also probably, because it sounds like you're growing up, it was kind of dysfunctional.
It was very
okay.
it
I was
was-
like, I'm
no,
trying to
no, it
nicely
was
say
very
this.
it was very dysfunctional, but it didn't look dysfunctional on the outside.
Yeah.
So when you have an alcoholic father, many times you've got in and out of jail, all kinds of stuff. He kept a job. He did all of that stuff. So because of that, it did not look dysfunctional from the outside. They stayed married. They had friends. There were 4 of us kids. I got an older brother. He's a pilot, or he was a pilot for American Airlines. When you turn 65, you're done. Like,
Oh, really? That's
yes.
what.
We are 2 years apart, born on the same day.
No.
Yes.
Oh, that is
Yes, 2 years apart, born on the same day.
that's just a
So
fun little
he
thing.
texted me when he was 65. He said, "I woke up unemployed and on Medicare." I said, "Welcome." So he's 2 years older than I am. He lives
Okay.
in Chicago with his wife, Donna. His
No.
wife, Donna. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have 4 kids. And, yes.
That's funny.
But, they got married after we got married.
Yeah.
And then I have a younger sister, Denise, and, my older brother's name is Mark. Denise married a guy named Mark. We're so weird. And she died in 97 of pancreatic cancer, 1997. So it was like 6 months. It was
Right.
really bad.
Yeah, no, pancreatic cancer is
It's
one of the
awful.
It
It's
is.
so awful. Yeah. So, and her kids were young.
Mhm.
So it was really, my kids ministered to her kids as much as they could.
Right.
And we're still in relation with my brother-in-law. Gary just played golf with him the other day. So
Uh-huh.
anyway, then my younger brother just had trouble. My parents lived in Arizona. My dad died of lung cancer in 2004, and then my mom and brother both died within 2 weeks of each other in 2012.
Wow.
My brother of cirrhosis and my mom of lung cancer. And I don't know if you can see this, if they can show. I went to see my brother in the hospital. So they lived in Arizona. My older brother could get me there. So Tommy and I went there. My son Tommy was 13, almost 14. So I brought him with me. We're going to check on my mom because my mom's neighbor called and said the ambulance came, took your brother away to the hospital, and your mom won't let anyone in the house. So I thought, well, I'm going to go visit her, and I'll bring Tommy because she loves Tommy, and I can get Tommy to get her to do things.
Yeah.
So I go to the hospital to visit my brother. He is that color.
Like the orange color?
The orange.
Right.
You think of someone with cirrhosis of the liver, that they're yellow, they're jaundiced. Yeah. He was orange. It was so weird.
Right.
And he was on a heart floor because his heart was, issue. But it was cirrhosis of the liver is what he was dying of. And they had me sign a do not resuscitate, and then they wanted to send him back to my mom's house. Well, I'm at my mom's house. She's in pain. She's not well.
Right.
I don't know where, and he's indigent. He doesn't have insurance. He would be homeless. Long story short, he ended up dying within a few days. And the blessing was, I always thought that he would die homeless. We would never know what happened to him. Because that was his trajectory, that he would be in Arizona. He'd go somewhere, he'd be somewhere, and he would die. He'd never married. He didn't have any children that we know of. And I just thought we would never know. And I was able to be there by his side, patting his arm when he passed away. And that was such a gift from the Lord.
Right, that is.
Such a gift. And that he wasn't alone,
right.
And that we knew. And anyway, and then my mom ended up having lung cancer. And
that is a gift, because I think about, like, my sister is an addict and stuff, and I feel, like,
Yes.
I have that, I have that same kind of worry and stuff, and it's like, it's beautiful to be able, because yes, I don't hang out there, but that's, from her choices and stuff.
Right.
And it's just like family stuff, like having small kids and all that. But like being able to be there, but that's something I know Lindsay and I would love to not love, but it gives you peace.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
yes.
I am sorry you lost your brother and stuff, but the Lord was so great and good, and to be you were there.
Yes.
And he didn't die. One of your worries is that he
didn't
died
die
just by
alone.
himself.
Or we would never know what happened to him. He just would disappear. He would have died downtown. He'd have been a John Doe, and no one would have ever known.
Right.
That definitely would have been a worry. Or that my mom would have had to go through some horrible, she did go through horrible stuff with them, but not toward the end. So the point is,
there's a God's goodness in that.
Oh, such
that
goodness.
That you were able to be there and not have to have that worry of him being alone or something like that. You were there, you're able to hold his hand. That was the beautiful redemption in that story.
Right. So that's where I am with all the alcohol stuff.
Right.
So, in my background
Uh-huh.
with that dysfunction. So that was another thing. When I spent time with my friend who had the 4 kids, I got a chance to see what a good marriage looked like and
Uh-huh.
what a healthy family looked like and how you treat a healthy family because I didn't have that. So I was able to witness that with her kids
Yeah.
and other people so most of my friends were married people with children. I didn't have very many single friends. I lived with my friend who was, single.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, I had a roommate who was single. But most of my friends, the people I hung out with, were married with kids, and I think that's a good thing. It was a good thing for
Right.
me.
You didn't struggle because I feel like a lot of like we have a few older single people in our friend group in our church and stuff, and they sometimes get like downcasted kind of from being like, like this is what I want and it's just right in front of me kind of like do you ever feel defeated seeing it? Or was it always just
I
you're
might
like
have, but I don't really
you remember?
remember.
Okay.
It
Then you must
wasn't
have.
strong. It wasn't a strong enough feeling
Hmm.
that it affected me in a way that I remember.
Right.
I definitely wanted to be married and have kids, so
Right.
I would have those feelings and emotions. But first of all, my friend, she, her husband allowed us to do fun stuff together.
Yeah.
So I had people that I did fun stuff with, and I enjoyed her kids. I enjoyed her family.
Hmm.
And they live in the Chicago area. Wheaton, they moved to Wheaton right
Uh,
soon after we got married, and the kids are grown up. And, it's just kind of fun connecting with them on Facebook and
yeah.
stuff. So, so God kind of showed me some of those things before I got married.
Right.
But it doesn't matter how much you get shown. When you get married, those old emotions come out.
Hmm.
My mom was a screamer, and I yelled too much, and it was hard. I mean,
Right.
it was hard for me, but in looking at the scope of things and seeing what other people go through, God was so gracious. First of all, the kids were not, and Gary talked about this, and someone has asked Sarah just the other day why they weren't angry
Hmm.
about the guy who killed their mom. It's because their dad forgave him, so he didn't have a hold on their life.
Yeah.
When you have bitterness, in the accident, there was a boy that was killed in the other car. That woman has held on to that bitterness.
Oh, really?
And so the accident, the bitterness, the anger against that man has controlled her life all these years.
Right.
So I don't know if she's gotten through that, but I know that for many years, she's
Right.
like that. That bitterness has had control over her. And it didn't hurt the guy that
Right.
did the accident, but
Yeah.
it's hurt her. It's hurt her
Right.
relationships and her family, and it's hurt her personally. So the kids didn't feel any of that. They didn't express any of that,
Hmm.
so they wanted it to work. And one of the things that was really important, Gary, they'd tell stories about Donna. I would hear the stories. We had pictures of Donna in the house,
Hmm.
and she was their mother.
Yeah.
She was like, it's- I it, there was no reason to race it like I'm now the one. It's like, no, I'm not the one. In fact, she did an amazing job raising them.
Yeah.
That when we talked about having a child, it's like, "Oh, I wish Donna could raise them for a few years. She'd
Right.
probably do a better job." But I seriously. So anyway, one of the things. So my parents moved to California right after we got married.
Hmm.
So the first Christmas, we went down and spent it with Donna's family because they always went to Brown County at Christmas after they opened the gifts.
Oh.
So it's like, yeah, let's do that. And the family, I mean, we got married a little over a year after Donna died. We were engaged like 9-10 months after
Right.
Donna died. So the family, even though we didn't know each other, and praise the Lord, we didn't know each other because people would have thought that was something weird.
Right.
They
People
could have
always
thought
come to
they
some
think
kind of
yes,
conclusion.
yes. So so they were wary, and we went down there at Christmas, and then I think we may have gone down at Easter, and we went down and we saw them, and we bought gifts and received gifts, and it was just, and that kind of warmed them up
Hmm.
in that regard. And it turns out that Donna's mom's one of Donna's mom's sisters had passed away in a car accident. Her husband remarried. The new wife pulled him away from the family. The children were not allowed to have anything to do with that family. And so that's what they were afraid that I would do.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's like, no, you guys are more together than my family.
Right.
And they live out in,
Right.
they live in California anyway, so it was
Right.
no big deal. So anyway, that was, I'm really close to them. We're really close now, which is really cool. And when I had Tommy, they treat Tommy like one of their other grandkids. So yeah, it's really neat.
Right,
So
that is so
calls them
neat.
grandma and grandpa, and yeah.
No.
So it's really cool.
That's awesome. I mean, that's such a, I feel like God was definitely in that and stuff because I feel like a lot of people do like what the new wife did from the other.
Yes, from the other one,
Because
yeah.
it's kind of like, oh, these, like, no, this is my family now and kind of thing. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's a selfish thing to do, like what she did. Like, it's a human thing to do it, but like to do what you did, where it's like, this is, like, this is our new family, but it's also like, this is their mom, this is their, like, family too. Like, it's all
Yes.
dear. Like, keep it together
Yes.
is something, it's a community thing. It's like, you want the best for everybody and stuff. And everyone could be in this family.
Well,
it's a big family.
yeah. Well, there's
right?
no denying the fact that, first of all, she was a wonderful wife.
Uh-huh.
She was so. For instance, I remember someone said, "Boy, I'd never want to marry a widower because I'd rather marry someone who's divorced. At least they had issues with each other." It's like, I would rather marry a widower that had a good marriage because he knows how to have a good marriage. That was
Right.
the other thing. He
Right.
knew how to be married and have a good marriage.
Right.
My parents didn't. So that was a big plus as well. And it was important that, they were able to do that. And part of that is Lacey, the confidence that I had in myself, in my identity in Christ.
Yeah.
It was who I was in Christ. And that was what I the Lord worked in me when I was single.
Right.
So, I mean, that wouldn't have been a fast thing once you're married. It's like, oh boy, I've got to be confident of who I am in Christ to be a second mom and a second wife.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that confidence that the Lord, grew in me as a single woman helped me to be able to be the second. That doesn't mean it was there were all kinds of things happened and nothing major, but it just, I don't want to sugarcoat, the everything, but looking back, to see where God has brought us is just such a miracle. And how he knit us together is such a miracle because it doesn't always happen that way.
No.
And it was a miracle from the Lord. But the confidence, I really, want to emphasize, if anyone's single listening to this, whether they're single or single again, you need to really know who you are in the Lord and get yourself squared away with the Lord to have the confidence in him, not in yourself, in him, that when you do get married again or what relationships or whatever you're going to do, that it's honoring to him. My biggest goal was to honor the Lord. And whatever I did, I wanted to honor him. The goes back to the First Thessalonians, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances,
Right.
for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. I mean, that's, yeah.
I think
That's
it's
the whole
all
thing.
circumstances.
Yes,
what it gives
all
people.
circumstances.
All
yes.
circumstances.
All circumstances.
Right. Because
So,
there's God in all circumstances
Right.
and stuff. And it's not going the way, you want it to go sometimes, but it
right.
will. It's God's way, not your
Right.
way. It's God.
So in a 30-minute ceremony, I went from being a cool youth worker to a mother who can't be that cool. Back in '89, mothers weren't cool. I mean, we wore
Are they?
jumpers.
I mean, like, are they
Oh,
still
no,
cool?
no. Well,
I mean, they're cool now.
They
We're
dress
style-wise.
cool now.
We're cool.
Style-wise. And, they try to, mothers are more hip, whatever. They try to be more in line,
Right.
than they were back in '89.
Yeah.
I remember making the girls matching jumpers and all that kind of stuff
Aw.
back in the day because people did that. And I at Heritage, they couldn't wear jeans. And so
Yeah.
I had a business I had business clothes, and then I had my slouchy clothes.
Uh-huh.
Well, I wasn't going to wear business clothes to Heritage, so I had to get a mom I had to get mommy clothes
Uh-huh.
that I could wear to Heritage. That was, more non-business, but definitely not jeans and stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's different now, but back in the day, so I had to build up that mommy wardrobe.
Right? Yes. That is
Yes.
so funny. How was it did you struggle going from leaving? Because it sounds like you left your job once you got married because you had 4 kids. You had 4
Yes,
kids.
I actually left early. We talked about it because I didn't know. I didn't know if I would still work. And we talked about it. Even though all the kids were in school, he's like, "Let's see if we can do this without you working, because I feel like you're probably going to need all the energy you can get,
Yeah.
to be with the kids." And so we went through this summer. So I actually quit my job several weeks before we got married and hung out with the kids, and that was fun. We do fun things. So I quit my job before then, and that was really good. I love to read, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to work. I'm going to have all this time to read. I did not read a book until 2 years after we were married.
Right. Yeah.
The laundry
Oh
with
my God.
4 kids, and they were all active.
Yeah.
So the
Oh my
girls
gosh.
were in sports. So there was so much laundry and trying to grocery shop. We didn't have a lot of money, so I was, trying to get the best bargains and do all of this stuff. I am not kidding. It was 2 years before I was able to actually sit and read a book.
Right. It's
Till
true.
I
It's
could get it
real.
all together.
The
And
struggle's real for
yeah,
that.
and they were in school. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had no one at home, but that was just such a blessing that, I was able to not have a job outside. Right after we got married, Gary's mom and dad lived across the street. So we got married in August. In November, his dad died in his sleep.
Oh.
The kids were so close to him. So within 18 months, they lost their mom. They lost their Grandma Stump, so Gary's grandma.
Okay.
She died, but they knew her. They'd
Yeah.
spent time with her. I mean, she was in her 80s or 90s, so it wasn't. Then Gary's sister had gotten pregnant, and she'd never been able to get pregnant, and she had a miscarriage right before our wedding. So that was really sad. And then Gary's dad died
Right.
in November. So his mom had the restaurant Dick's Famous Hot Dogs.
Okay.
And so I actually so I did work and help her. So I ended up doing stuff for her and working during the day and helping out. So I did, but that was, it wasn't like going downtown. It was going to Castleton and putting on the
Hey,
hat
nothing.
and the apron and everything. No, it was good. I was glad I could do that for her.
Right.
Because Gary's sister couldn't, because she had kids at home. She
Yeah.
had, a baby, and she had just adopted a baby when she found out that she was pregnant.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
she did lose that. She had lost that baby,
Pregnancy, yeah.
the pregnancy, but she still had a baby.
Yeah.
So she couldn't do it. I mean, she had little kids. So I helped, and Gary helped as much as he could. We were trying to sell the restaurant. It didn't work out. But anyway, I worked there. So I did do that. So I was busy doing that. And I volunteered at school and did stuff at
Right.
school. And I remember I brought lunch to Graham. He wanted chicken nuggets from the McNuggets from McDonald's. And they had that mustard, that hot mustard they used to have. They
Oh, they
didn't
do?
have
Oh,
it.
I was like, I
It
don't
was
know about
really,
this.
it was real. It was spicy, whatever it
Uh-huh.
was my favorite. It was so good. It was kind of sweet, kind of spicy, mustardy. Well, I went to have lunch with him. I brought him that lunch, and I had a white blouse on, and he wanted to give me a hug, and he was full of mustard. It's like,
Right.
I learned not to wear the white blouse.
Right.
Because it's like,
White's not the best.
no, I
Big
want him
mom.
to give me a hug. So
Uh-huh.
it's like, let me wipe your hands before you hug me with the
Right.
mustard hands.
Right. It's that's true.
Yes.
That's real life right there.
So
yes.
yeah, so it was super busy, and there was just always something happening. The girls were in sports, and they were good soccer players, really good soccer players, and they always wanted to play club soccer. And that was a time where it was starting to, where if you really were good in a sport, you could play year round. And so they wanted to play club soccer, especially Sarah was really good. She was fast. Her speed is from stop. From a stop she can go fast immediately. She's a burst of speed.
Yeah.
And Abby was just very competitive and
Uh-huh.
tenacious. But anyway, so they loved soccer, and they had people that would pay for them to play soccer. They would pay the dues, initiations, whatever,
Yeah.
club fees. But then you still had to travel. You still had to buy
Right.
everything. And we just made the decision that we can't do that. And most of the games were on Sundays. Well,
Yeah.
your dad's a pastor. We're just not going to do that. And we made that decision, and the girls weren't happy. People in their club things weren't happy. They played soccer at Heritage.
Yeah.
Was it. Well, and it's just like, okay, God knows that if they're to go to college or whatever, he'll take care of that. That cream will rise to the top. Sure enough, both of them walked on at Liberty and ended up with scholarships playing Division I soccer at Liberty.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
God took care of that. Oh, yeah.
That's a hard thing because that is something like, neither of my kids currently right now are very athletically inclined, but it is a big decision people have to make with sports and stuff because people do tell themselves, like, well, they have to be in this, this kind of sport. They have to be in this club. They have to do that. Otherwise, like, because it's all about getting to, like, a scholarship to college and stuff. And that is a big thing because you also want your children to succeed and not have to, like, you don't have to pay for college. You know what I mean? Like, it goes both ways.
It's an
but
investment,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not sure you get
Right.
the investment of money is one thing, but the investment of time and family time,
Right.
I'm not sure you get.
And what's important and
Yeah.
stuff because it's very like that's like that tension because it's like it's also like you want to raise your children in a Christ-centered, church and all that, like family, but then it's also like, but then if you're missing Sundays and you're showing them that like that's more important, kind of like this
Yeah.
is more of a priority.
Or one kid is athletic and all of you're doing everything for one of them, and another one isn't, and they're kind of left behind.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a very big dilemma. And then also, how did the girls handle that at first? Like, how did you like work with them in that? Because they had to be, as kids, they don't really understand as much.
No, but they were, I mean, one of the best things is, with Gary coming into ministry at 36, already married with kids, I was a new mom. We put guidelines and we put, parameters around what we would do at churches. He wasn't going to have all the committee meetings. We would commit to Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday night as a family.
Yeah.
As far as other things, he would have meetings during the day. And if he needed to meet with someone in the evening, he could. But we were not doing all these evening meetings and taking time and doing all of that kind of stuff because the kids were in sports and we wanted to attend their things.
Yeah.
So, and Heritage at the time, they encouraged kids to go to Wednesday night. Everybody had Wednesday night service. Well, they'd have practice on Wednesday nights. The girls would, which is after school, which is okay. But we'd have to leave to go to church, and they would get docked the next game because they left practice early to go to church. And Gary would go in and talk to him. It's like, you're saying these things, but you're not acting like it. And finally, they got to the point where they didn't dock him. But it was crazy. It's like, so put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
It's practice.
Yeah,
They're leaving early to go to church. Yes.
Right. It's not that deep. We care more about their spiritual.
Right. And that was just one of the things that, So anyway, the kids were really responsive. They, because their dad was on the same page and they loved him so much. He had such a great relationship. He was a very involved dad. They loved him. They were for him. They knew he was for them. So because of that, and he took the lead on so many of these things, it was good. And right away, he kind of gave me permission to, be the mom.
Yeah.
Listen to your mom, be the mom. And that, backfired a little bit sometimes,
right.
But, it was good. He didn't, we put our relationship first and the kids were second.
Right.
God is first, then us, then the kids. And so many second marriages fail. In fact, the failure of second marriage is much higher than first marriage when there are kids, because in the situation, the mother or the father, mostly the mothers, they put the kids before their husband.
Right.
And that the kids are going to leave you.
Right.
They're going to go. Your job as a parent is to make your kids independent of you. That from the time they're 2.
Yeah.
You know, you're potty training them. Everything you're doing is to help them to be independent adults,
Yeah.
independent people from you, not dependent on you. And people aren't doing that today. They want their
Right.
kids. Oh my goodness, the helicopter parenting, the gentle, all of that stuff, gentle parenting. It's nuts.
Kathy is not a fan of this.
No.
That cracks.
And well, I'm just
Why do you think it is? What's your theory?
because we are very we are controlled by our emotions. Our emotions are the most important thing. Tell me how you feel. How are you feeling? You know, when grandparents, back in the day, it was all about duty. You do your duty, you do your thing, and you didn't discuss emotions.
Yeah.
And that's not great either.
Yeah.
But we've swung the pendulum so much
Yeah.
that it's just like, be who you want to be and do all of this. And it's in the church. It's compassion run amok, and you don't want your child to ever be sad or have anybody say no to them or make them feel bad about themselves. It's like, you fall, you brush it off, and you get up and you go again. And there's not any of that.
All right.
There's a guy that we started listening to, John Rosemond, and he said we need the 3 R's back in school and back in our lives. And it's not the arithmetic and reading, writing, arithmetic were the 3 R's used to be, which we need those too, instead of all the other stuff. But it's respect, responsibility and resourcewulness.
Okay.
And respect, obviously, to respect your elders.
Yeah.
Boy, there's no respect. There's no respect for authority. That's why our world is falling apart. That's why, God puts authority over all of us.
Yeah.
And in the Bible, it wasn't always good authority.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul is in jail, and he's telling them to respect the authority of the people that put him in jail for being a Christian, because we give honor to God when we do that. So respect. Responsibility. I just the other day, I think it was Laura. Laura was saying her kids keep forgetting their lunch. And parents are like, I want to bring I don't want my kid to starve. It's like, if you gave your child breakfast, they're not going to starve in the middle of the day. But if you really feel like you have to bring them lunch or you have to bring them something, then they owe you. So you have to bring them their lunch. They forgot their lunch, or they forgot a paper, they forgot something. Because you know what? As adults, we forget stuff too.
Yeah.
But we have to pay the consequences. We're late for a meeting, then we're seen, whatever. We pay the consequences for our forgetting. So you teach your child to pay the consequences. So, okay, you forgot your lunch. All right, you owe me an hour of work when you get home. An hour of work. You owe me that because I came and brought you your lunch. More.
Right.
And you make them work. You clean whatever you're going to do. You
Whatever
make
you
them
need
do
done.
something.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you just make them do that. And like back in the, nowadays, kids have one of the things that we also did. So I would do that. Or if the girls left their curling iron on, that would take their curling iron away for a day or two.
Right.
That made them way unhappier than if they'd have gotten yelled at or punished for something else. If they were late, they had a curfew. We were one of the few parents with curfews. If they were late, the next time, like if they were 5 minutes late, the next time they went out, they had to come in a half an hour earlier. If they broke the curfew.
Yeah.
So those were the so we tried to make the punishment match the infraction.
Yeah.
Rather than just say, you're grounded. Because,
Right.
we could have our boys could still be grounded.
Right.
So it's like at some point you've got to get a little bit more. So
Right.
there's a lot of creative discipline. Parents don't want to be the bad guy.
Right.
I was okay. I was also okay with them not liking me because I was first of all, Gary loved me so much, so I felt secure in his love.
Yeah.
And it was okay, because it wasn't my job to be their friend.
Right.
That was not my job, and parents wanna do that today, and so that I think that's where that gentle parenting comes
Yeah.
from. Okay, so it was I said respect, responsibility, and resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is, if you fail, do it again. Figure out how to get it done.
Yeah.
Parents are always protecting their kids. It's like, "Oh, no, you didn't do that. Let me help you do it right. Let me
Yeah.
do that project for you. Let me help you with your science fair," and it's, the parents do it.
Yeah. Right.
It's this resourcefulness that we need to teach our kids, that if they can't get it done, if they can't do it right, or if they fail, or if it's not quite the same, they've got to figure out how to get it done, not to the point of frustration.
Yeah.
That's our job as parents, to help them to not get so frustrated they'll lose their minds, but they do have to have some frustration, because of frustration, they'll grow through it.
Mhm.
If your child is never frustrated, they'll never grow
Right.
emotionally.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all like actual real life things, like later on in life. Like you're gonna have to
Yes.
be resourceful. You're gonna like as an
Yes.
adult be a valid contributing member of society.
Yeah, not live in mom and dad's basement.
Right. And be like successful
Yeah.
in the workforce or in, motherhood, any kind of thing, whatever you choose to do.
Yeah. Do you know how many kids are taking their parents with them to job interviews?
I
And-
heard of that.
and
That would
most-
be
and
so silly.
Yeah, most guys say that. I mean, that's we don't care how
Uh-huh.
qualified you are. We're not going to hire you if you take your mom and dad to a job
Right.
interview. It's like, you got to be kidding me. But
Right.
that's the kind of stuff. So I don't know. Those were things that we worked through with the kids. And again, it was interesting because, I am a task oriented person,
Mhm.
which can be good and can be bad. So I just kind of keep my nose down and get the work done.
Yeah.
And so I wish I would have developed relationships with the kids, especially the girls outside, like taking them to, people go to coffee, they do that kind of, we didn't do, no one went to coffee. Kids didn't drink coffee.
Yeah.
The kind of stuff that we do today, you didn't do back then.
Yeah.
So I didn't develop the relationships with them outside of that parent
Yeah.
type of thing that parents are more intentional about doing now. And
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Right.
And I wish I would have done that more with the kids.
Right.
Well,
Well, you guys seem great now. It must have been like
Yes.
older, like once they got older and stuff.
Here's something that I think is really important. And Gary was talking about hypocrisy this week at church. You have to listen. It's really good. Just a plug.
That'll get you. Yeah.
Yes. But one of the things is, we don't always do everything right. But what
Right,
is our
yes.
desire? And I think the kids understood that my desire was to love them completely and for them to grow up sold out followers of Christ with the best life they could have. And when you take away all the junk, the negative, the yelling, the mistakes, even with Gary, they caught that. I believe they caught that from us, that was our desire. I don't care if you dig ditches as long as you love God with all your heart.
Mhm.
I don't care what, those things aren't important. The most important thing is your relationship with the Lord and where you are with that. And that you desire to be that for God. And I think they caught that from us and from me.
Yeah.
So even in all my, whatever I did.
Right. Right.
that
Well,
they
we all
saw
look
that.
back. I mean,
Yes.
we're all human. Like we
Right.
wish we could do all those things and stuff, but we also, but like, I love
Sure.
what you said. I mean, you almost made me tear up. Anything has to talk about my children following the
Mhm,
Lord
yeah.
gets me every single time. But I was about to, I got my fake eyelashes on today, so I can't be crying.
That's great.
But that's so true that you kept that. Like, that's what I loved about when I interviewed Gary too, because he said the same thing. It's like, and you guys, the thing is, like, you guys say it, but then I've also like seen it with like your children and like the people they've married and stuff. Because I had Matt
Mhm.
as my Bible teacher, and so
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
and I've interacted with like Abby and like all your kids and stuff. I haven't met Graham, but the other ones I have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly like what they do. And then they've also put that on like their
Their
kids.
children, our
Yeah, like your
grandkids.
grandkids. Like
Mhm.
I see it there when I follow them on Instagram and stuff because I'm like, oh, they're so cool. I should have them on the podcast to talk. Like, but it's just like it's you did it and it showed. Like, they're the fruit. That's what, like, you can now see the fruit.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what's so amazing, because you may
Yeah.
have not done it, like, perfectly and stuff, and that's what we always get in our head, being like, "Ugh, I didn't do this, like, I yell at them, I did this and stuff," but
Mhm.
the Lord still, like, worked that in there, and they are, like, passionate Christ followers,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
And
that's
then
beautiful
yeah.
to see.
So we, the teenage years, there were lots of ups and downs. And we were really excited when the boys graduated and had their diplomas signed.
Mhm.
They're very smart, but they did not love homework. And Rick is
Right,
an auditory learner, so I would like read him stuff. And they're both really, really, really smart. But they just struggled with the school stuff. So,
mhm,
and then we had talked off and on whether we wanted another child, whether I wanted to have a baby or
mhm.
whatever. And I thought we should just adopt, because then it'd be like everybody's kid, And
Yeah,
Gary didn't want to do that. After Graham was born, he and Donna decided they didn't want any more children, so he had a vasectomy. So for us to have children, he would have to have that reversed.
yeah.
Well, that's like connecting two human hairs and expecting something to flow in between. That's what my doctor told me. It's like, oh, great. So, and insurance doesn't pay
Yeah, no, yeah.
because they know what, if they pay for the reversal, they'll pay for the first. But
Yeah.
if they pay for the reversal, then they know what else is coming. There's a pregnancy and another child.
Right.
So anyway, someone from my prayer group, her husband was a urologist. It was paid for.
Oh, wow.
Someone paid for it. And so this guy came up to him and said, it's all arranged, it's all paid for, you just give us the time. And we're like, oh, now we have to put our money where our
Right.
mouth is, because we talked about it, and we kept talking about it off and on, because it wasn't like, I wasn't worried about having a baby. I was worried about having another teenager. It's like, oh, man. So I was worried about having another Anyway, so Gary had the surgery. And soon after he had his surgery is when my sister got sick. So, like, with a few months, after he had his surgery, I'm like checking, and I'm 39,
Yeah.
38, 39. I'm checking, taking my temperature and trying to figure out, what's going on and
Yeah.
everything. And then my sister got sick, and it's like, that I just quit thinking about that. So he had the surgery in like May. She got sick. We found out she had cancer in like December. She died the following June in 97 when Sarah graduated. She died in June. And so I didn't think much about it after that. And then I got pregnant like probably around Thanksgiving or so in 97 and had Tommy in 98. I really wasn't thinking I was going to I just thought it wasn't going to work.
Yeah,
And
because it's not guaranteed. Like, and it is
No.
harder to get
it
pregnant.
is,
Yeah,
yes.
after reversing
And
that.
yes, and so most of the time, if you're not pregnant within a year, you need some fertility help.
Yeah.
Just whatever. So, and we didn't have money for a fertility doctor. So we just kind of didn't think about it. And then I ended up pregnant. So I had Tommy.
Right.
It
was meant to be. It was God's plan.
39, almost 40. Had him in August, and Sarah had just gotten engaged. So here I am with a newborn baby and getting ready to plan a wedding.
Right.
It was tough. I was thinking, I kind of wanted to enjoy having one at a time. I remember when I was young, I always thought it'd be so much fun to have twins. Then I got married and I thought, I've just had quadruplets. I do not want to have twins.
Right.
I want to have one at a time. So anyway, so we had Tommy, and then, I planned a wedding with the newborn, he was 7 months old when they got married.
Oh, gosh.
Yes. Someone gave him a sleeper that looked like a tux, and we had a little bow tie made for
Right.
him.
Oh, that's crazy. Because you were a first time, like, newborn mom.
First time newborn mom.
Whew.
And the girls had a double wedding.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember hearing about that.
Yes, it was pretty amazing. There were like 800 people there. It was really,
Right.
everybody came.
800 people planning a wedding
Yes,
and also
yes,
having
yes.
while being 40 years old.
Yes, and married to a pastor that didn't have a lot of money. So
Right.
you would not believe we did this wedding on a shoestring. And
Aw.
but it was everything the girls wanted.
Yeah.
One of so do you know Troy Cooper?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that was Abby's first boyfriend.
Uh-huh.
So then she went to Liberty and
Uh-huh.
she met, and they were boyfriend girlfriend at Heritage. She
Yeah.
went to Liberty because of Troy, because that's where Troy went, because his sister went there. She met her husband there, Matt,
Uh-huh.
and they got to know Troy's now wife Rachel, and they're
Yeah.
all best friends.
Oh, no, they are. I remember Troy came and talked at my Bible class and stuff,
Yes.
and they were besties, him and
They
Matt.
are major besties. So when they had children, now Troy's oldest son Malachi is married to Abby's daughter Maggie.
I know, that's what
So
cracks
now
me
we
up.
have Cooper. In fact, they did a blog about she did something on Instagram, Maggie did,
Uh-huh.
and showed the moms and said everything. And it got picked up by the Today Show podcast.
No,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
that's
It
it's just
blew
so
up
funny
on TikTok.
because I remember Matt talking about his girls and stuff, and
Yes.
now that I followed them on Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, I remember all the silly stories.
Yes.
Because Matt would just talk about those girls all the time
Yeah.
because before they had the boys and stuff, and
Yes.
it was hilarious. And now to see it and stuff.
Yeah. We're actually going to Florida for a wedding, and then we're going to spend the week with Maggie and Malachi. They've got a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and we're going to stay
They live
with
in
them.
Florida?
Yes, they live in Stuart, Florida. Uh-huh.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. It's so it's such a God thing that has all like came together and stuff.
Yes, all that came together. So anyway, we went to Troy and Rachel's wedding.
Yeah.
And it was very elegant.
Mhm.
And the reception was very nice and very elegant. And I remember it was a month before the girls' wedding. I'm thinking, we're not going to be able to do anything like that. I mean, we don't have any plans like that. And I was feeling really bad. We're driving. They had their reception, sit down dinner at Ritz Charles, and we're driving over there. And I'm thinking, what we have planned is nothing like that. And I didn't say anything. And the girls were both in the back seat, and they said, oh, I'm so glad our wedding's not going to be like that. And it's going to be more simple. And it's like,
You
what
were
a
like,
gift.
Lord,
What a gift.
right? Because you
Yes.
were worried. Like
Yes.
us
Because
moms,
they
we
just
get
saw the beautiful thing. And it was like, oh, thank you, Lord. So,
right.
I mean, and it was beautiful what they did,
Yeah.
but we couldn't afford all the extras that cost a lot of money.
Right.
And we had cake and punch at the church because that was a lot of people. And then we had a second reception, and Sean, Sarah's husband's mom, graciously offered to pay for the food. So it was a little buffet at a little place.
Yeah.
And we had some dancing and, just a few, 150 there, but
Yeah.
it's a lot less than the other. And so that's what we did. And they were perfectly happy with it. It was such a
that's
gift.
because that's the thing. It's being a parent. You want to give them that, but it's like you can't find like financially.
We couldn't do it, yeah.
And you don't want to push. Like you also don't want to be like do more than you can, because then that also shows
Yes.
like, oh, my parents did that. They lived above their means, and it's like
Yes.
then that's a whole nother thing.
Well,
You got.
they got married in 99.
Mhm.
There was no Pinterest.
Yeah, right. Thank the Lord.
Yes,
The Lord was
thank the
sovereign over
Lord.
that
Yes.
too.
So people didn't spend, people spend 10,000 or 10,000 would have been an extremely expensive
Right,
wedding
yeah.
at the time in normal
Yeah.
conditions, and we spent far less than that. And
Yeah.
it was less. The venue, obviously we just had to pay for one venue. Someone had gifted us a wedding cake, so we just added another tier for the other. So we didn't even pay for the wedding cake. So all of those things just worked out perfectly.
Right.
So we didn't have to change the venue; it didn't have to be bigger, and it worked out great.
All right.
Yeah, it was good.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess if the Lord wants you to get married, you'll provide.
Yes. Yeah. So I did all of that, hauling Tommy around in a pumpkin seat.
Right. Oh, Lord.
And he
Yes.
was 7 months, and he was like getting on his hands and knees, and I kept pulling his legs out from under him. It's like, you are not crawling until the day after the wedding.
Right. You're like, I can't
cannot
handle
a
this all."
mobile child. Yes. I know it's probably child abuse, but I mean, he was
Nah.
7, 8 years. He
We
was
under-
7 or 8 months old. So it's
Right.
he
Us
was
mothers,
young
we
anyway.
understand.
But yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't handle that. So yeah, he started crawling after.
That is adorable. Oh my god, I love that. That's so cute. Yeah, no, it's I mean, like, it's been so beautiful, like, how the Lord has worked through your story and stuff from you being single, which is something it's such a testament, especially now. I mean, like, I think being single is a little bit better, but, like, growing up and stuff, I remember it being, like it was almost, like, as above, like, I felt like salvation sometimes, like,
Yeah,
to be a good Christian.
like God's not blessing you. Why
Right?
is he not blessing you with
You're
a
right, like,
husband?
you are not doing the Christian way unless you're
Mhm.
married and stuff,
Mhm.
and it's beautiful to hear that, like, like, you realize that, like, it is because it's also now, like, I saw I mean, I wasn't single very long, but, like, now in my single friends, I see how much it is a gift to be single because you can further God's kingdom so
Right.
much, and you have a focus. You can legit focus on you and your relation like, with God, like, you all
Right.
it's so much easier, more people, more stuff, and, like
Right.
and I love that you saw that, and you're like,
Mhm.
"No," and then even when stuff came about and stuff, you're like you were so solid in your foundation
Right.
that it
Yes.
helped you navigate and know God's way, like, even then, like you said, like, you got married, was it, like, 3 I mean, like, engaged 30 days after meeting?
32 days.
32 days, yes,
Yes.
and then and a
I
lot of people
don't recommend that, but
no,
God was in it,
right?
I had a friend that I knew that she had been divorced and this guy had been divorced and she got engaged really fast like me. She wasn't a believer and they weren't married very long. It's like because you didn't have the main thing
Right,
and that was Christ in your life.
right,
I mean she loved God, but she wasn't a believer, a sold
right,
out believer at all. So it's kind of like, yeah, you don't it takes a lot more,
right.
you know.
And you gotta give it to the Lord,
Right.
and you gotta realize it's not just your emotions. I feel like a lot of people get married on, like, feelings, and feelings fade after a while. The Lord's gotta be in it.
You know, the scripture that our heart is desperately wicked, who could know it?
Uh-huh.
I remember I was working at a Christian school. It wasn't Heritage, but moms would write little notes to their kids and say, "Follow your heart." And I wanted to rip the note up. We are not to follow our hearts. Our
Alright.
hearts, we make decisions that are not right when we just follow our heart. God gave us minds to use.
Mhm.
He gave us our minds to use with our hearts. It's not that you don't ever that you don't ever consider your emotions, but you don't follow your heart. You follow the Lord. And he will give you those things. He will give you the desires of your heart. It's Psalm 37:4, 37:6. You know,
Uh-huh.
trust in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
And what he does is not give you the desires of your own heart. He changes your desires into his desires. And then then your desire matches with his, and then you do get the desires of your heart. Do you see what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying?
Oh, yeah, no, I
Yeah,
definitely get
because
it.
people just say, well, I'm going to get my desire. It's like, no, you get so close to the Lord that he changes your desires into his desires. That's why he'll say, if you pray for anything that in my will, I will grant it. Because your will becomes his will.
Yeah.
His will becomes your will. It's intertwined. Then he will, because it's his will. He will grant it,
Right.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright, Imma end it here because that was a good ending. Thank you, Kathy, for coming.
you're
Do you have
welcome.
anything else to say to anybody? I always put people on the spot. I need to probably tell people that I asked them this.
Okay, so Gary's mom had Alzheimer's, and
Yeah.
we ended up taking care of her when Tommy was 3, and she lived with us for 3 years. And I just want to encourage people who are caregivers, and I know you went through the same
Yeah.
type of thing with your mom. And I think it is just so important to be a caregiver. But with Alzheimer's, I see this happen all the time. When you have a loved one, and I'm going to be there soon, that is losing it, keep your sense of humor and just hold that lightly. You may end up mothering your mother, but if you have a sense of humor, it helps so much because we saw over and over, a child wanting their mother to still mother them. It's like they're not going to be able to mother you.
Mhm.
You've got to do stuff. She would Gary's mom would do stuff, and Gary would say, "You need to teach her how to do that. You need to teach her not to do that, not to put her hands there, not to do that because she's going to hurt herself." I said, Tommy's 3, 4, 5. I said, Tommy is learning and mom is unlearning.
Right.
And so to respect that. So I have a real strong feeling for caregivers and for family members, for family who are going through those things now.
Right.
And just want to really encourage people to keep their eyes on the Lord and in all things, and to keep a sense of humor,
Right.
even with that.
Amen to that. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Kathy, so much. All right.
You're
thank
welcome,
you,
honey.
everyone. This is Image Bearers, and I'm Lacey Kahn. Bye.